What I want to show in this video is the relationship between the resistance an instrument, preferably a reamer, encounters and the degree of rotation that an instrument can undergo. Here you see the number 8 reamer placed into the canal in the plastic block, and with a little light testing using short strokes, so little resistance to both apical penetration and rotation is encountered that the resistance can easily be rotated through repetitive 360-degree arcs. We will be taking the instruments through a 25 approximately 1 millimeter beyond the length of the canal. This is the equivalent of taking the instruments 1 millimeter beyond the constriction of an intact tooth. Doing this prevents the buildup of debris at the constriction if we had gone short. This is completely in line with endodontic principles that are taught throughout the country. Please note the same situation exists when the number 10 reamer is placed. Note the ability to rotate through multiple 360-degree arcs, a direct result of the minimum amount of apical and torsional resistance encountered. The number 15 relieved reamer encounters somewhat more resistance, both torsional and apical. As a result, the canal must be shaped for a significantly longer time using much shorter arcs of rotation. Eventually, we are able to do repetitive 360-degree arcs of rotation without increasing the force applied to the instrument. Full 360-degree arcs of rotation are not our goal, but we will take them if they come with minimal resistance. To purposely increase the amount of torsional and apical force to attain 360-degree arcs of rotation leaves the instrument vulnerable to distortion and breakage, and the canal increasingly vulnerable to ledging, elbowing, and apical transportation. The number 20 relieved reamer encounters more torsional and apical resistance. This resistance never decreases to the point where 360-degree arcing can occur. As a result, shorter strokes are used throughout the shaping when using the number 20 relieved reamer in this canal. Please note we are still attaining our full apical length. It is just being attained with shorter horizontal strokes. The number 25 relieved reamer encounters more resistance than the 20. Shorter strokes are required for a longer time to negotiate to length without distortion to both the tooth and the instrument. Note how the instrument records the shape of the canal when the instrument is used with the appropriate short stroke. At this point, the benefit of a 30-degree reciprocating handpiece should be self-evident. Even where a 360-degree arc is not possible, we rarely get to the point where we manually scribe an arc limited to 30 degrees. In fact, the shorter the stroke, the less potential for distortion to both the instrument and the canal. However, if used manually, a longer horizontal stroke will produce greater efficiencies if used where possible. The benefit of the reciprocating handpiece is the speed of its oscillations. Used at anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 cycles per minute, each stroke removes very little dentin, but there are so many strokes per minute that from the dentist's perspective, the instrument shapes the canal quite rapidly, with the short stroke assuring the dentist of distortion-free shaping to both the instrument and the canal. I initially was going to do the entire sequence without the benefit of the tapered piezo straightening and widening the coronal 1/3 to 1/2 of the canal. However, when I placed the number 30 relieved reamer, the instrument encountered more resistance almost immediately than I wanted. Consequently, I employed the tapered piezo as is recommended with our technique to straighten and widen the coronal 1/3 to 1/2 of the canal space. After the tapered piezo, I checked for patency using the number 25 relieved reamer. Please note how easily it gains full apical length. The number 30 now goes strictly up to what would be the constriction, using a series of short arc strokes. At no point am I ever using increasing amounts of apical or torsional force. I follow up with the 35 relieved reamer used first manually and then refine the shape with the 35 used in the reciprocating handpiece. With the maintenance of patency as a result of going 1 millimeter beyond the length of the block, the equivalence of a 1 millimeter extension beyond the constriction, distortion-free shaping is maintained through a 35. Please note how easily the 35 attains full length when the reciprocating handpiece is used. In this video, I skipped the 40 1 millimeter short of measurement and went straight to the 2506 Nai relieved reamer used in the reciprocating handpiece. I noticed a small amount of bottling between the apical and middle thirds and decided to blend the shapes together by using the 40 and 2508 subsequently. Again, please be aware that at no point is excessive apical pressure applied to the instruments to gain apical length. By using low apical pressure, we are not trying to avoid breakage. That is prevented by the short arc of motion. Rather, we are preventing the impaction of apical debris, which could then be a causative factor in canal distortion. Please note the final shaping of the canal, free of distortion and efficiently achieved. The main purpose of this video was to demonstrate the correlation between increasing apical and torsional resistance and the employment of shorter strokes to compensate for that increased resistance. Secondarily, we show how the reciprocating handpiece delivers a very short stroke with great speed that gives us the combination of excellently shaped canals delivered in a timely fashion.